Hello, and today we will discuss the significance of the Lowlands region, or the region that surrounds Weathertop, the place where Aragorn took the hobbits on their way to Rivendell. The Lowlands are home to the Eggline, or the Forsaken. It was a name used by hobbits for the wilderness found east of Bree. In the hilly portions, there were mainly abandoned castles of Rudor. The land before them began steadily to rise again. Away in the distance eastward, they could now see a line of hills. The land became drier and more barren, but mists and vapors lay behind them on the marshes. A few melancholy birds were piping and wailing. Of course, this would occur in 3018 of the Third Age, which we would see in Weathertop, which is a hill located in this region. This region started out as Arnor, the great kingdom of men in the north of Middle-earth, which will be founded by Elendil in the last years of the Second Age. Now, it is a settlement made by and for men, much like how Rivendell was made for the elves and the Shire was made for the hobbits. Lowlands is a direct translation of Eriador, which means lonely land. However, the Shire will be within Eriador as well, as Eriador is a large region in the northwest. However, between Bree and Rivendell, there was a great kingdom once, as Elendil would be the first High King of Arnor. At the time, it was between Misty Mountains and Blue Mountains, which would later be the Shire, with its capital being Annúminas in Lake Nanuial. Elendil fell in the last alliance as he fought with Gil-galad in 3441 of the Second Age against Sauron. Shortly after, in the very beginning, Isildur would go missing in the Gladden Fields as the ring-bearer of the One Ring. After their deaths, the ruler would be Elendil and later his son, Eärendil. When Elendil ruled, there was much discussion, though Eärendil ended up being the 10th and last king of Arnor. After his death in 861 of the Third Age, Arnor split into three separate kingdoms: Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rudor. Arthedain would be the most successful realm, as the line of Isildur would be maintained there. Also, it would be because through the first king, Amleth the Furnace, the line of Isildur endured while that of Rudor and Cardolan failed. As a result, by 3018 of the Third Age, the Lowlands would be what was once the kingdom of Arnor, while the Trollshaws would cover what was once part of Arnor and Rudor. Thus, this region would be filled with buildings made by ruins. Now they had gone on far into the Lowlands, where there were no people left, no inns, and the roads grew steadily worse. Not far ahead were dreary hills, rising higher and higher, dark with trees. On some of them were old castles with an evil look, as if they had been built by wicked people. The chief dwellers of the Lowlands are the Eggline, or the Forsaken, who are descendants of people who forsook the more civilized towns to live in this region. There are many different things they could be doing, but the Eggline were all descendants of the men of Eriador. Most of the Eggline lived as hunters, though there were still many craftsmen or traders. While some may think Lowlands and Eriador are the same, etymologically it is, as Eriador means lonely land. However, the Lowlands is really a part of Eriador, which also includes the Shire, Bree, and Horwell. Meanwhile, one of the most well-known locations of the Lowlands is Weathertop, because this is where Aragorn and the hobbits would stay, though that hill was first established by Elendil as a watchtower. It can be implied that Aragorn had a similar idea that Elendil had, as it would be a great view of approaching enemies. By the time of Lord of the Rings, it was no longer at a desired state as the Witch King's forces attacked Weathertop in 1409 of the Third Age. Another known location would be the Forsaken Inn, or the Last Inn. While in earlier drafts it is called the latter, the name changed to Forsaken Inn in Tolkien's later versions. It is made of ruins, and the Eggline call it their ruin hold. While it is stated in The Hobbit that there are no inns, the Forsaken Inn would later be developed after Thorin and company found a deserted building on their way to Erebor. I don't know if the road has ever been measured in miles beyond the Forsaken Inn, a day's journey east of Bree.